So, I had a panic attack. That's not like me. I can be in a crowded restaurant, running around to serve 20 different tables, with kids screaming and hot pizzas burning my hands, and I won't have a panic attack. But in September 2023, I was sitting in class and we had this exercise where we had to approach people on the street and ask them questions about a topic. Some of my classmates decided to talk about the heat waves we all experienced this summer. A simple and trendy topic. And amid all the information that bombards me every day on social media, I didn't think that hearing a few people talk about the high temperatures this summer would affect me so much. And maybe it's precisely because it's so simple that it touches me deeply. Because it seems like people are completely ignoring the problem. It's as if I live on another planet. But that's the problem. We all live on the same planet, don't we?
We spoke when I was in this really, really horrible place. We struck a deal where I would go out and look for a bit of beautiful chaos every day.
I live in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada.
I am 20 years old.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
I am 23 years old.
In Memphis, Tennessee, United States.
30 years old.
My roots are in Uganda and the United States.
Among these impressive numbers, here are a few of the people concerned.
It feels a bit like being in a room that's on fire and you're the only one that's noticed, and you say to someone, "Hey, is the room on fire?" And they say, "What? No," as they pour lighter fluid all over the floor.
I will sometimes feel my stomach drop.
We now actually as a species are feeling like this threat coming for us.
And when I think about that, I'm just like, it's too much, I can't do anything, I'm just one person.
Yeah, worry about the future, how to make it, death is one thing, dying miserably is another.
I realized that it was affecting me and my day-to-day life to a degree that was probably not healthy.
When you start being conscious about what's truly happening, it's almost unavoidable to feel eco-anxiety.
It's tremendously challenging to live openly and to live joyfully in a world when it feels like the world is falling apart. So my name is Ora Nitkin-Kaner. So as a climate change chaplain, I work with individuals to face the spiritual and emotional challenges of living in a climate changing world. I believe and have observed that climate change is destroying our most basic sense of trust.
I do feel self-conscious that when I do talk about it, and I've told you people sort of walk by it.
Initially, when you don't know exactly what you're feeling, it can be a very lonely experience, especially when the system we're in is almost rigged to make you not feel like something is wrong.
It's in the way I eat my breakfast, in the way I go shopping, it's in the way I think of myself as somebody who's entitled to a certain lifestyle. It's in everything. So how do you stop that? My name is Steffi Bednarek. I'm a climate psychologist. People feel down and depressed about it. People may feel angry about it, hopeless. Some people can't sleep. You can go on and on and on, but really I think the term distress describes it quite well.
I displayed my eco-anxiety very physically because it triggered an eating disorder, essentially. I was very worried about the environment, and I felt very guilty for eating anything that had, flown hundreds of air miles to get there, anything that was wrapped in plastic, anything that I knew had been treated with pesticides that I knew were damaging, like neonicotinoids, and I really, really researched all of this. I didn't have enough money to eat like that, but I didn't I wasn't making any allowances for myself at all. It was a case of like, if you want something and it's not sustainable, it's not locally grown, it's not in season, you can't have it. I got really, really physically ill. I had glandular fever and I didn't even realise. I just thought I was run down, you know. I wasn't eating right. I was nutritionally in a really horrible place.
My daughter's 24. Yeah. So that brings me to tears, you know. And I understand, would I bring a child and so, like, I actually apologized to my daughter the other day. I said, I didn't know. I didn't know. When I had you, I didn't know what was coming at that point.
So would you say that people experiencing all the strong emotion according to climate crisis is a normal reaction?
Absolutely. Climate emotions are completely normal and completely reasonable and completely human responses to the challenges of climate change.
How to face the mess we're in without going crazy. Feelings of outrage, alarm, grief, guilt, dread, and despair is normal. And it's a normal and healthy response to a world that is experiencing trauma.
The fact that so many people experience climate distress in the world, it means that the world is not responding in the way that keeps us safe. It doesn't mean that it's a mental health issue.
And for me, because I've worked so hard on being aware, it actually does involve some level of learning to ignore at times.
Most of us function in this way. We can have really informed discussions and feel really worried, and then we go into a supermarket and take choices that we know are contributing to the problem.
Yeah. So a few of my friends and just people in my inner circle, they have this paralyzing feeling when it comes to this. For example, we looked at the movie Don't Look Up. A few of them, like, they didn't even finish the movie because they felt like this is just, I cannot deal with this right now.
So there are parts of us that care, and there are also parts of us that may not care or that find ways to explain away how we're intricately involved in the system where there's almost no way of not contributing to the problem. And it would drive us completely crazy if we felt the impact of every action that we take.
If I let my mind sort of spiral, then it's bad. And I'm just worried, and I kind of just have this vague, overwhelming sense of doom and gloom.
Well, I want to know to act. I don't want to know so much that I'm completely paralysed.
So it's a way to protect ourselves.
Yes, and I think interventions of support are not about not feeling it, it's about how can we bear it.
If we can't allow ourselves to notice the change, then we're not taking in reality, and that diminishes our ability to rise to the occasion of dealing with change productively with flexibility and curiosity.
This is actually not just an idea or a statistic, this is happening, and this will affect my life, the life of people I care about.
We all live here. We all share the same air, we share the same water, but some people are concerned and some people are not, and that stresses me out too.
Just this last summer we had wildfires that were close enough to the city that we were blanketed in smoke and whole neighborhoods went up in flames.
We were affected by wildfires up in Canada. There were days where our local authorities told us the air quality is bad enough that you should only be outside if absolutely necessary.
Air has no boundaries. Carbon has no borders. Water knows no boundary. It will come to where I am in some way or another.
I am sad that the whole world does not have this sense of shared responsibility. And the responsible people and the politicians that have the power to choose planet over money, they end up not doing it.
If we aren't getting that this is priority number one now, then when will we get it, you know?
The reason why climate justice is very important to consider when thinking about solutions to the current climate crisis is because different voices need to be heard and considered into the solution-making process.
Rich people end up being so less affected by these climate issues. The poor people will suffer with this. Rich people will be okay.
Some communities have been experiencing this grief, this anxiety for many, many years. So for example, the continent, this is not a country, it's a continent of Africa, has contributed to less than 5% of CO2 emissions historically. And the top 9 most vulnerable countries to climate change in the world are all in Africa.
Wow. What do you think?
I thought you could get rid of it, but now that I've spoken with at least 10 different people experiencing it in different ways, most of the time it always ended with you learn how to cope with it. So I think the more we learn to cope with it, in the better future we're going to.
I think we all have different ways to express those emotions, and for me that turned into actually creating a project around it and doing something with those feelings.
Don't try to fix it all today. And you know, you did your best today, we'll try again and do better tomorrow, or maybe worse tomorrow, and that's okay. We just don't give up.
We're doing our activism, like we are living in the world we want to build, and we are building the world we want to live in.
And so we do need to see all of the wonderful things that people are doing. Positive stories, great initiatives, people coming together, and that in itself can have a contagious effect.
I think, yeah, my art is a natural response to these very deep and heavy feelings.
Mindfulness, meditation. Don't overwhelm yourself with reading the news. Be as engaged as you can be. How do we be a human being in a world that feels like it's falling apart?
I would say to really listen and to share if it's true for you, to say me too and you're not alone. And to admit that I don't know what to do either. I don't know what helps, but this is what I do.
I didn't know what to do with all these emotions either. But here's what I did.